we've been working through this sales training for a number of months now, and Mike prompted me based on a conversation we were having a month or so ago when and I forget how we started the discussion, but there's distinct reasons why, a scientifically proven reason why customers buy. And why do customers buy? And more importantly, why do they buy from you? And I had a training module that wasn't included in the original, but hey, listen, I think this is perfect. We're also going to do a little more extended version of this with the marketing team afterwards as to some of the neuroscience around why customers buy. And I think it's always interesting, and if not vital, for sales reps to always understand what goes through the minds of our prospects, our existing customers. Today's really more about your existing clientele and why they do or do not choose to do business with you or your competitors. And so I'm going to take you through some, and listen, none of this is, you're not going to go, oh my God, I never knew that. When you think about it, you're going to say, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's all just a lot of common sense. And sometimes you got to sit through a meeting like this, a training like this, to bring it all back together for you. And it helps sharpen your saw as to how you approach things. And also there's some stats in here around, how much easier it is to sell to an existing client than it is to a new client. And so I think that to me is kind of motivational as to why I want to redouble my efforts and sharpen my saw around selling to the existing clientele that I have. Never dropping that we're looking for new clients all the time, but there's lots and lots and lots, thousands of customers that have done business with RM Coco in the past. And as we've gone through some of the data, we realize that some of them are very active users, some are medium users, and some we see infrequently. And lots of opportunity in all those categories. So my plan today is to help you all focus yourselves, understand some unique approaches. Some of the things that we'll talk about today are areas that we've discussed briefly early on in the training, and I think it's a great time to come back and revisit. But I warn you all now, and of course, Holly and Darla, I will not call on you today for some of these because you haven't practiced some of this stuff at this point. So you're off the hook for at least this month.
All right.
So I'm gonna go ahead and start the training and warn you all that this is going to be fairly interactive. I'm going to call on almost the entire group today and get your input and your thoughts on some of the slides that we cover. So with all that, let's get going, because today's objective is to help you all understand and describe to you the buying motives that your customers have, and then some of the techniques that you need to demonstrate in order to persuade them to do business with you over your competitors. And I'm going to talk about some of the dominant buying habits, motives that influence customers' decisions. And in the end, I want you to always be considering throughout this, why is it going to be you? Why are they going to buy from you? Because at the end of the day, they don't buy from RM Coco, they buy from you. But I thought it was interesting. These are been around for a while. Is why don't customers buy? Why, when you've got an existing customer and they don't come back, why don't they come back? And the stats are this: 1% because of death or bankruptcy. 3, they've moved. 5, there's some technology that they're unwilling to use or incapable of using. 9% are they don't do business with you on price, which I think sometimes to sales reps is a little bit of a surprise. 14% got angry at you. Angry at you or at your company, but 68% decide not to buy from a company again because of the vague feelings or indifference that a sales rep displayed. And I think that's powerful. I think that alone shares the importance of the relationship that you build during the sales process and continued with your existing customers. So, Kathy, let me just ask you, have you ever seen those stats before?
I think she might be having some problems.
I think she is. What about
Kathy's froze up for a second. She's restarting.
Somebody pour some hot water on her. How about you? Have you ever seen those stats before?
Who was the how about you? Me?
That's you, yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't hear my name. No, I have not, Vaughn.
Okay. Does that surprise you?
The 68% does.
Yeah.
It surprises me, Vaughn, because I always see price. People always mention to me price.
Yeah, but in reality, it is because of the relationship or the lack thereof of the sales rep, how they were sold to. It was how they're sold to originally and how they continue to be sold to. So Mike, Heath, Kathy, that from a leadership standpoint, that just goes to the importance of how we're representing ourselves as sales reps and customer service personnel and that sort of thing. And I'm going to get into a little more depth on all this, but it's the true efforts behind this training today is to help you learn to penetrate, expand, and more importantly, protect. Good Lord, Barb is having a hell of a time getting in this morning. Poor thing. Learn to get more business in the existing market, grab market share, expand the business you're having with each client, existing client, and to make sure that no one else can take your clients away from you and to them as your competitor. So let me talk about some basics first of all. So people make decisions, you, me, everybody here. They make decisions based on two things. I either need it or I want it. And so, a need, of course, is something that's required. We've got to have food. We've got to have water. We've got to have some level of entertainment and education. Those are all needs. If we have a business, there's supplies that we have to have in order to operate our business. And then there's wants, and those are the luxuries in life. That's all those little things around the checkout stand at the grocery store that we impulsively buy because we want it. We don't necessarily need a Reese's candy bar, but we do want it from time to time. So those are the two distinctions of why people buy, main distinctions. And when you're dealing B2B like you are, it's all about needs. They have needs. And so we're not selling luxuries, things that are nice to haves. You're selling must haves. And so understand those two buying motives. So why should you be concerned with why they buy or their motives for buying? And I'm trying to get Barb in here again. They want to satisfy their individual needs. And everybody that you sell to has an individual, a unique motivation or reason for doing business with you or with your competitors. And those reasons generally surround the benefits of doing business with you. And I'm going to get into some depth on those benefits in just a few minutes. But the benefits of fulfilling their wants and especially their needs. So sellers and their reps, sellers being RM Coco, reps being the team here. Once you understand the buying motives, why they buy, there's three main reasons when they decide to do business with you. It's either going to be a rational decision, an emotional decision, or they've just been doing business with you, so it's patronage. It's just they just used to doing business with you. Today we're going to deal mostly with the rational part of it. And it's the thoughts, the judgments that people are utilizing when you're on the phone with them or calling on them. And they generally make decisions rationally about quality, value, price. And I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Mike brought it up. Most people think that they decide to not do business with you based on price, and it's not true. If price is an issue, it's because we haven't built enough value. You haven't justified the price. Now, it may not be in the product. More importantly, it's in the service, and it's in the relationship they have with you. I can tell you there's lots of companies out there. Many of you own a Apple product, which is a premium product. Can you go buy a $40 or $50 or $100 phone? Absolutely. Why do you spend $1,000 on an Apple phone? Because it gives you the value that you're looking for. It does everything. It does it well. And so Apple can continue to justify their high prices and certainly their profitability because they built so much value and features into the product that they sell. And you think about the experience of buying an Apple product, and I was so impressed the first time I bought an Apple product and the box arrived, and just their packaging alone, you felt like you were really buying a top of the line premium product. And so that's from a marketing and branding standpoint, one of the great things that some of the best, it's like Heath's hotel room, he's getting a lot of value out of that room for $2,000.
Yes, I am, Ron.
Yes, you are. And stay out of the minibar until afternoon. So here's a few rational thoughts. Does it save you time? Is it easy and simple to do business with you? Does it make economic sense? Is the product you sell good quality? And how do we demonstrate or communicate all those things in the course of a conversation relationship with our customers? And in the end, customer service is one of the primary reasons why people decide to do business with you and continue to decide to do business with you is how are they treated? And customer service takes on a lot of different definitions, but are you quick to respond? Or if there's a problem, do you take care of it? Do you show empathy to their needs? Is there follow-up after the sale? Are you checking in and making sure that the shipment arrived and everything's working well? And so here's now the opportunity for me to turn this back over to you. And I think we can all pick up on some clues, some ideas, some words when we start discussing each one of these as I go through. Is, Mitzi, when you think about the level of customer service that RN Coco provides, how do you as an individual create a high level of customer service to your clientele?
Well, obviously face-to-face interaction. So I can definitely see a increase in sales the minute I go and see them. It may be somebody that hasn't even purchased for a little bit, but as soon as I go and see them, it's almost instant that I see a sale of some sorts coming through. I do hear I'm usually pretty quick to respond back to emails, texts, or phone calls. And just establishing that relationship with them and knowing about their personal life too and their business, and just making it more on a personal note a lot of times, I think really helps as well.
Yeah, good. Important points, all of those. And how about you, Sheila? How do you, as an inside sales rep, provide a high level of customer service to your clientele?
I think just offering assistance, and I mean, I've kind of, as you start working through, people realize that, but I'm starting to get emails from people like, can you look for this? Can you find this? Can you check on this order? If you jump on those things and get them answers back, that morning, or they remember that, and then that's where I start to see orders too, is those people that you've helped, that you've done something for. They remember that.
They sure do. So you're picking right up on it. How about you, Sarah? How are you providing or creating a high level of customer service for your accounts?
I guess similar in the way Sheila said, being able to help if they have an issue with something, or if they just can't seem to find on the website, being able to direct them to the right location to find something they're looking for is definitely beneficial. I'm really good at answering emails, and a lot of my customers answer my emails back. So just having the relationship that way of having to be able to be quick to the draw, getting exactly what they need quickly. Being able to place the orders is really nice for my customers. Having that ability to do so, they just send me an email saying, Sarah, can you put 5 yards of this fabric on hold? And I let them know, yes, it's on hold for 10 days. That's always a benefit too.
Okay, very good, very good. Thanks for sharing all that, everybody. And so this goes hand in hand with customer service. Is it easy to do business with RM Coco? Is it easy to do business with you? Is it convenient? Does somebody answer the phone when I call? Making the transaction simple and easy, and there's a lack of red tape. People hate 20-page contracts, but they want to be able to. And just like as you've already described so far, is they want to get in, they want to get out, they want to get responded to, and they got stuff to do. They need to get back to their business, and so when you think about making things simple, Grace, how does RM Coco, or you in particular, make it easy or simple to do business with RM Coco?
Yeah, I think it kind of relates to just responding to emails right away, but a lot of the time we also help with back orders and stuff. So just kind of being there and answering any questions and just volunteering any help right away.
All right. And thank you for that. And then Michael, I'm going to call on you. How in your estimation, compared to maybe the competitors, does RM Coco make it easier to do business?
Well, I'd like to, provide my customers some, personal attention. If they have a problem on something, they're reaching out to me for it. I try to put them at ease and, gather the information and say, look, I'm going to get into this right away and then get back to you. I think that, brings the wall down, and they know that someone's going to be looking into that and getting back to them so that they can maybe move on to other things. And then, obviously getting back to them with the correct information, and they'll remember that, the next time they have a problem.
That you brought up something that was really critical there, and I want to point it out. Is it the correct information? Have you listened to them, and have you provided back exactly what they were looking for? So good call out there. All these are so good. I'm writing all these down because we're going to use these in a later meeting today. So economic. Does it fit into, you're working with designers. Does the fabrics that you provide, the hardware that you provide, does it fit into the budget of the clients that they're working with? So many customers are going to choose who they do business with solely on price. And yeah, that makes it easy and simple, but I got to tell you, it's generally when you start competing and selling based on price, that becomes a race to the bottom for a lot of companies. I've seen this happen in industry after industry. However, if your prices are higher and than your competition, so you've got to be able to justify those higher prices. And I've got to tell you, the 10 or 12 things that you've listed so far are one of those ways that you can justify a higher price, because it's all things that are of a higher value to the customer. They're willing to pay more. Most of you guys know I used to run a bunch of CarMax locations out here on the West Coast. And if you guys have ever bought a car from CarMax and had a good experience, you're welcome. If you've ever gone to CarMax and had a bad experience, it was probably after I left. But CarMax has the highest margins of anybody in the car business. They make more per car than anybody else in the business. They do not compete on price. But how they justify being able to charge, and it's significantly more than all there. It's not a few $100s, it's a few $1,000s more per car. Is customers more than willing to go to a CarMax store and pay more. Yeah, and you can't possibly pay more for a used car than one you buy from CarMax. Customers are willing to pay more because the level of customer service they get, because of the no haggle and the customer experience they get. There's no games being played. There's no negotiations going on. It just is what it is. It's easy to do business. You can get in and out of there in 30 minutes if you want to, and buy a car without all the red tape and the hassle that all the CarMax's competitors have to deal with. And so, yeah, that's the car business, but I can talk about a dozen other businesses that make it so easy because of that relationship, that user experience, that customer experience that they get. And in your world, that customer experience primarily focuses on you. And I'm dwelling on this because I think sometimes we as individuals lose sight of the fact that we are the value. Fabric. Yeah. And there's different levels and qualities and styles of fabric. But at the end of the day, they're going to buy from you, and the value is in you. And so when you put together your relationships that you're building with your clientele, you think about the high quality products that you guys sell. And Heath, I'm going to come to you. How do you, in your estimation, your opinion, does RM Coco separate themselves as a seller based on value versus price?
Well, it's not really a price thing anymore for us. The things that we push is the breadth of our collection that we have.
Yes.
From fabrics to decorative hardware to the workroom. So we kind of really are trying to pitch a total solutions company. There are people that do certain aspects of what we do, but not necessarily all the things that we do. So we're really pushing the total solutions concept.
Excellent. And am I to interpret into that, Heath, that you're one less phone call that they have to make, or one less inquiry, maybe multiple less inquiries, because you've got so much product that you have access to that you could deliver to them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And again, I've seen that become a very powerful value proposition for a lot of different businesses. And that's a very unique value proposition we have to remember. So quality, and Kathy, you've been in this business now for a number of months. I know you've learned a lot because you've worked a lot on the product knowledge side of things.
Right.
Quality is, listen, if you're charging a high price and it's low quality, you're going to go out of business pretty quickly. We all know that. But how do you teach your sales reps, or how do we discuss the quality of the products that we sell at RM Coco?
So that's actually a little bit of a challenge, obviously, with the inside sales team, right? Because they don't have that touch and feel that they can do with the customer. So we're really working through, PowerPoint presentations more, really talking about the website, getting them samples in hand to really show them the value. So, a lot of times you can tell people about the value all day long, but sometimes you got to show them, right? So it's a really working hard on that value with samples to our clients.
So they can touch and feel it.
Right.
Yeah. And because they're it's all the senses have to come into how we perceive quality very often.
Exactly.
The touching and feeling and the smelling and
Right.
that evoke different emotional kind of responses. But in the end, your designers that we're selling to, it's rational. Is this going to fit my customer's needs?
Right. And once they have a few samples in hand and start to see there is some quality there, then it's really important to build that rapport with them, right? Because they've already kind of established, okay, I like the value. I mean, the quality of what I'm getting. Yep,
absolutely. And I love how you're working on not only the website, but having having the descriptors at the tongues of everybody on the inside sales rep side, make sure they can describe things in a way that helps establish the quality of the products that you're selling. So thanks. Right. So of all these things I've mentioned so far, which is the most important? Because some buyers may have multiple buying motives, but they typically, and they're all unique, they have one dominant motive for them to make a particular purchase. And so we've got to focus on those motivations, understand those motivations. Mitzi was talking about face-to-face and getting to know them. And the better you get to know them, the more you understand what their motives are and how to form your communication in a way that's going to connect to that motivation. And so when you're making a presentation or having a conversation with your clients, you as a sales rep, it's absolutely essential for you to understand the different buying motives that we've talked about so far. And so let me share some more reasons with you. So reputation. People decide to do business with or not with a company based on reputation. They're going to check out your website. In some businesses, they're going to check out your customer ratings. And everybody on here has gone to Amazon and purchased products. I'm pretty certain I can say that. They've gone to Amazon or they've gone to Walmart and they've made a purchase online, sight unseen, and we're basing it. We choose one product over the other because, again, this is value, because they've got 2,000 five-star ratings on that product. There's a bunch of other people before me that are feeding back that this is a good product to buy, and you're making a safe bet on this. And I know in your industry, there's not a lot of Yelp reviews, but you gain, I know the design world is a very tight-knit community. They're all part of associations and networking groups, and they talk with each other. And so it's real important that and you create the reputation for the most part, based on your level of customer service and standing behind the product. You create that reputation as sales reps within the organization. And so that's one of the critical links between customers coming back and repeating business with you or never to be seen again. And so, Mike, I'm going to turn to you for a second. When you think about RM Coco's reputation in the marketplace, what are some of the things you think helps RM Coco stand out in a reputation standpoint?
Well, I think we have a great customer service staff. I think we have a great sales staff. I think it's the people that really stand out from the company as far as their reputation goes.
Yeah.
I think we have a reputation for quality. I think our workroom is known. People are very satisfied with it. We're known to make a wide variety of products. And I think we're known for quality on our fabrics. When people buy fabrics, it's hassle-free. They get their fabrics. We do a good job inspecting the fabrics prior to sending them out. We're accurate. So I think I think we're building a much better marketing and website. I think the new website is going to help with the ease of use, searchability of our fabrics, that sort of thing. And I think we're getting to the point where we want to have that configurator where people were easy to do business with quotes.
That's a game changer. Yeah, that's huge. Thanks for all that, Mike. And then trust. We don't trust a company. We trust the people of that company, as Mike just talked about. And you know what? At the end of the day, no matter what business we're in the people business. And I don't care what you're selling or what you're buying or what you're manufacturing or what services you're offering. It's always about people. And you know, certainly they're looking for the reliability and the value and the quality of your products. But that trust really comes down to, are you treating them the way they want to be treated? They at no point feel like anybody's taking advantage of them. That again, that there's not a 20-page contract with all kinds of small little prints and fonts on there that they're trying to get looped into something that they unintentionally sign up for. I mean, you think about doing business with, you know, it's probably happened to all you guys. It's happened to me multiple times. Is all of a sudden a fee comes up, like bank charges, and you know, something goes wrong, and the bank charges me an extra fee that I never knew I was going to have to pay for, and I feel taken advantage of. And you know, I've been a long-term customer. Why are you charging me this fee? So it's you know, we sometimes get a little insulted or let down by our suppliers. You know, there was an online service I was using a couple years ago that ended up I stopped using it, but unbeknownst to me, and listen, it's my fault. I signed up for a 1-year contract, and I think I'd used it for 6 months, and I called them up to cancel it, or I went online to cancel it, tell them I didn't want the service anymore. And they said, well, you know, you pay, you're on the hook for a year. And no way would they let me off. And I know their competitors would have said, oh, that's fine, Vaughn. Sorry you didn't use this. Think about us if you ever decide to come back in and start using this kind of service again. But I can tell you, anytime anybody brings up, and I'm not going to bring it up today because I don't think it relates to what you guys do, but anytime anybody brings up that type of service, I got it. Every time I hear it, I want to talk about the bad experience I had with that company. And because I just think that was unprofessional and uncalled for, and certainly there was 100 ways they could have treated me better out of that. So just being transparent, you know, I bet some of you guys have signed up for monthly subscriptions on things, and you didn't realize when you signed up for it that it automatically renews each year. And so all of a sudden you think a subscription's ended and it renews. And now, you know, another, you know, $20, $200, whatever the subscription is, has popped up on your credit card. And that's a surprise. And many companies make that very transparent. Some don't. That's an online business, but just to try to help us all relate to that. So it's real important for us to be able to create trust with our customers. And Barb, I know you're newer at this, but when you're interacting with your customers, how do you try to evoke trust with them?
Well, first of all, I try to know the product, you know, and having that knowledge, then they trust me as an individual as well as the company. Mm-hmm. And also try to take care of all of their needs, so that, you know, put their trust in me to take care of all those needs, that they can take it off of their to-do list, put it on mine, and know that it's going to be taken care of.
Yeah, that's perfect. That, you know, that when they give it to Barb, it's going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
At the price that you said it was going to be taken care of for.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thank you for that. And what about you, Karen? How do you create trust with your clientele? Is she on? Is she still on? Hello?
Karen, you're on mute.
Oh, Karen, you're on mute. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was trying to get off mute. Sorry, I couldn't do it. I was clicking and nothing was happening. Yeah, so I mean, I think I get trust from people because I usually try to try to be proactive in seeing issues when I look at their orders coming in. Like one I'm working on right now, I was reviewing the order and I saw that it was like a huge amount of the same fabric and the same draperies. So I figured it had to be commercial. So I called them up and I asked them if it was commercial, and they said yes. And I said, well, it has to be flame retardant because she was speccing a fabric that wasn't. So I try to be helpful in that way with them so they gain trust with me and that I'm overseeing what they're doing. And that turned out that she needed to have flame retardancy on it. So now it's a search for another fabric today for her.
Well, and you saved her from making a huge mistake, right?
Right.
Yeah. Good job with that. Anything else you can think of?
I think that people just, you just have to be honest with people and you have to be genuine. And if you're not, and they see that if they think that you're trying to, persuade them to do something just because it's to your advantage, then it's not good. So I try to be as genuine and honest as I can with everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, Bon, can I add something to what Karen was saying? So Karen is one of several reps that I have that have a deep knowledge in textiles, drapery, and decorative hardware. And Karen really has been more of a consultant to customers in this business. Surprisingly, a lot of the designers do not understand textiles and how they behave. Perfect example, this customer was wanting to use something and she wasn't aware of the fire codes. And Karen can help them with calculating measurements for draperies, figuring out issues with decorative hardware. And so they reward her with the business because she's solving problems and giving them solutions to the challenges they're facing in their business. And Karen and several other of my reps have helped people get into a segment of the business that they were giving away, like custom window treatments. They were intimidated by it. And they would just say, hey, here, you just take it. I don't even want anything for it. I'm not dealing with that. And then they get into the drapery business because of the expertise of someone like Karen or Terry or Mitzi. I have several of them that really understand window treatments. Jan.
Yeah, that is so powerful, that consultative approach. And Heath, that's really the difference between an order taker and a professional sales rep, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the way you just described all that, Heath, is so spot on to why customers decide to buy with you and why they'll pay more to do business with you in the end. Is they're getting that kind of consultative approach where we're partnering, we're solving problems together. You've got a need, you got a challenge, you got a problem. I'm going to work with you, and I've got the expertise. We've talked about that empathy before expertise. I'll listen to your problem, then I'll use my expertise to solve it. And so good job with that, Karen. Keep up the good work. Consistency. Outside of just lying to people, which nobody on this call today is lying to customers, but outside of lying, nothing erodes trust quicker than consistency. Is that they just don't know what to expect from one order to the next. And when it's the same experience every time, and you guys build loyalty with the brands that you do business with, whether it's where you go grocery shopping or where you shop for your clothes or what websites you go to. Back when I used to travel 3 or 4 nights a week, the consistency of the hotels that I stayed at. I chose the Marriott brand and Marriott Courtyards, and because from a budgetary standpoint, they were closer to what I was allowed to spend on hotel rooms, unlike Heath, and because I knew exactly what I was going to get every single time, and so you buy brands, you're loyal to brands and companies and sellers for that very same reason, is they're consistent. And again, it's your consistency as an individual that plays a big role in their experience with RM Coco. And so it's don't ever lose sight. Please don't ever lose sight of one of the drivers of making a decision, a key decision driver is this going to be the same experience every single time when I talk to you? Is it or if you reach out to me, and do I know exactly how this is going to work from there? And so, I'm going to go back, Kathy, let me ask you, from a consistency standpoint, what are some of the processes we have in place internally to make sure that our clients get a consistent experience each time?
It's funny you asked that question to me because I was just thinking of something I wanted to mention. Here's what I can say about this company that I'm really impressed with. I've been at a large global company and a mid-sized company, and this company does a really good job of giving sales all the tools they need to help them to be consistent. So they have lots of reports they can look at. They get confirmations on every order that a customer of theirs orders. So they have really very little reason not to be consistent with their customers. So to me, that's very impressive because global company, we were terrible at it. You never knew what a customer was doing. So I think that we do a really good job as a company.
Yeah. Okay. Great words. And I always have gotten the impression that's the way you guys do business. And Kat, in your role, when you're dealing with your customers, is based on what Kathy just shared with us, how do you utilize that as part of your sales presentation for them to understand the level of consistency that you produce?
How do I want to phrase that? So in regards to like the conversations I have with my customers, it can be something as simple as, someone's always like, you're always so fun and easy to talk to. So that makes our conversation overall pleasant and enjoyable, which is super beneficial. I think they like talking to you, which means that they are tending to like you, which means they'll probably buy from you. And then they love that I have all of these reports that I can lean on to talk about, stats like, oh, it looks like you've been using these books really well, or these haven't been working. How can we modify what you have to really emphasize, your business just that much more? And so it really comes across that, we all know what we're talking about, that we're obviously really solid in our knowledge of our products. And then even if there's something that I don't know, they ask a question that I'm like, I have no idea. There's the team that we have in customer service, the girls I can talk to here, Kathy, Heath, even if I need to reach out to outside sales, I'm able to get those responses and those answers for them quickly without them having to wait forever for that answer.
That is huge. So I think you were a little dubious about responding to this question early, but man, did you knock it out of the park. So good job with that, Kat. So let's sum it up. And we've talked about this in a previous training, but that some of you weren't in. But it was when we were first putting together the inside sales reps, and Kathy and Heath were a big part of this, Mike as well. Is what is our unique selling proposition, or what is our unique place in the world of fabrics and hardware for window coverings? Now, fact of the matter is that every business thinks they're special. I can tell you when very often I'll sign up a new client, and as I'm onboarding them, I'll say, hey, what makes you unique? And I'm going to go through the most common responses that they all share with me, and underline the word common because almost everybody says the same thing. And so to stand out from the crowd, stand out from your competitors, you really do have to have a unique selling differentiator within with your organization and with you in particular. In order to sustain growth, you got to stand out in some way, some unique approach that you deliver that others do not. And now the most common, almost the number one by miles, we give great customer service. Well, you know what? You and everybody else that's in your business claims or believes that they give great customer service. That they think they sell the best product for the dollar, that their product has the most features, and we have the broadest selection. Many because we're the cheapest in the business. And number 5 is we care more. We care more than anybody else. Those 5 things are not unique. Those are common. And so the reason why I've been writing down a lot of things, as you guys have been sharing your thoughts, your ideas, your experiences on the buying motives that I've been going through, is some of these are unique. But what makes it really unique is you. And because every industry has kind of these catchphrases that they believe is unique. But if everybody's saying the same thing, how do customers trust those words? And they don't. Frankly, they just don't. But many companies put that out as their value proposition, and it's called the illusionary superiority. That's why 80% of drivers believe they're better than the average driver. And so, who on this call today is better than everybody else in driving on the road? That's what I thought.
No.
And the fact,
hand down.
What's that?
I told Heath to put his hand down.
You've ridden with me.
I got to tell you, every bad driver I've ever ridden with thinks they're a good driver.
Yep.
Right? And
that's my husband, for the record.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm calling him later. But the math just doesn't add up. If everybody's saying it, it's just not true. So why are people saying it? It just becomes words on a screen or words in the air, and it doesn't have a lot of value to the customer because everybody's using it. And the point is, even if you do offer the best service, that everybody recognizes you for your service. Just because you say it, customers don't necessarily believe you. They're not going to trust it. And like I've said, and this last time I want to say it today, is because 10 of your competitors are saying the same thing you're saying. So at the end of the day, the point of all this is, I've written down probably 30 bullet points that you have all shared with me today, all fairly unique. We were all talking about the same thing. There's some common ones in here that I'm going to work with the marketing team a little bit later and help pull out some that are more common, that are in fact unique. But for our purposes today, never lose sight that you're the uniqueness. It's the relationship that you have with your clients, with your customers, how you deliver all these buying motives that we've talked about today. It's all up to you. It's how you sell to them, that you consult with them, you uncover their challenges, you understand their needs, you respond to those needs, you utilize your expertise in your product to help make their lives easier, more successful. And I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I can't say it enough to folks in your position. At the end of the day, they decide to do business with your company because of you, not because of your company. And again, we lose sight sometimes of the importance that we have as individuals to selling the product. And customers choose to do business or not to do business. Back to that early stat that I showed, 68% of the time based on they come back or they don't come back based on you. Almost 70% of the time, you're the deciding factor, how you've interacted with them, how you delivered value and information and consistency and trust and all these things we've talked about today. And you all have a unique way of being able to deliver that because you are individuals. So I'm gonna share a few other ideas or resources to you about why customers continue to do business with you. So one of the number one reasons and the easiest customers to sell to are ones that were referred to you. And they're the absolute best leads you can hope for. And I've been very fortunate in my business. Almost all my business comes to me through referrals, which gives me a sense of pride. And also makes it really easy for me to grow my business. But I've worked hard to be able to deliver what folks are looking for. But being referred, and we've got to work on that program with RM Coco is to be able to be very comfortable asking for referrals, having a referral program based on the wow experience that you as sales reps are delivering all the time, because your very best advertisement is the last happy customer that you've had. Nothing's more valuable to any business or to your own sales than happy customers who are then going to go out and tell others how happy they are with you. And so it's we've got to, Kathy and Heath, we've got to talk more about how we drive more referrals to the sales rep. That sound like a plan, Heath?
I made a note right now.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay, cool. The second thing that drives customers to you is how you sell to them, which I've talked about. But Heath was talking about Karen earlier in regards to this. And most of the sales reps on here today have been through the active listening training with me. And it sounds easier than it really is being able to be quiet, ask questions, be quiet, and really listen and gather all the information you can as to what their needs, their challenges, their wants are. And so that you can then form a response in the way that goes right to exactly what they need. It's that consultative approach that he pointed out in Karen that is her approach, and I think all of you take that approach. I'm not taking that away from anybody on this training today. But that is so important. That drives the referrals. That you care enough, you're getting information, you're easy to do business with, you're consistent, I trust you. But it's do you listen to me? And do you deliver what I ask for? And it's you that does that, not RM Coco. And so it's in today's training is all about upselling and selling more to your existing customers. And one of the things you have to have is a standardized plan, a standardized process to be able to get back to your existing customers at the proper protocol to continually be touching base with them, having reasons to give them a phone call. Rather than just reaching out and touching base. Please don't ever reach out and touch base. Please always have a reason to be calling your existing customers. Have a motive that is about them, not about you. You don't want to be pushy. You don't want to be just another phone call. You don't want to be just another salesperson bugging them during the course of the day. You want that relationship. And you want to, when you call them up, have something to talk to them about, something to ask them about. Is it a new product? Is it something you're tracking in the data that RM Coco provides you? Is it something that's based on the past or something you've heard in the past? Heck, if you heard that, somebody was sick in their family and you call them back just to check and see how that family member's doing, there's a great reason. There's dozens and dozens of reasons. Just have a reason and state that reason when you reach back out to your existing clientele to talk to them. And there's lots of reasons why you want to do that, because and this is Invesp, is a data collection company. In their study, they found the success rates of selling to existing customers was 60 to 70% versus 5 to 20% close rates. So you've got a 60 to 70% close rate improvement over selling to a new customer. And so where am I spending my time? Where am I honing my skills? Yes, there is growth from a new source standpoint that we have to work on. That's always part of our jobs. But man, our money tree is out there with our existing customers. And the better we dial that part in, the better we sell to our existing customers, the more we work on the empathetic and consultative approach and having reasons to call them, it improves not only your close rates, it's easier to sell them. When you've already lowered that barrier of trust, they've done business with you, they know that you're somebody that they've enjoyed doing business with, that you've delivered it the way that you said you were going to. They're easier to sell by a long shot, and they're likely to spend more, and they're likely to spend more often. As you continue to build that relationship with your existing clientele, 60 to 70% more likely to sell to them than a new client. And by the way, it's 5 to 25 times more expensive to acquire a new customer than to upsell, on which I just noticed one of my, you see that upsell?
What's a upsell?
Yeah, that's a
Is it
California.
the same as an upsell, or is it?
It's a word we commonly use in North Carolina.
Oh, good to know.
Yes. Only in the mountains of North Carolina. Upsell. It's like water in Pennsylvania. Because you don't drink water in Pennsylvania, it's water.
That sounds dirty. Like dirty water, I meant.
I got to make fun of myself. So,
yourself, Kathy.
and Heath knows that because he's been to Pennsylvania, but he enjoys the water there. So it's, if you're not focused, if you don't allocate enough your time and mental energy to working really hard on upselling your existing customers, you're losing out on huge opportunities. So here's 4 tips for upselling your customers. Value. You are the value in the upselling process. Let's talk about some of those strategies to help you with that. Give you some guidelines that you keep in mind. And somebody said it earlier, and I think it was Karen. It's just be real. Just be myself. And it might have been Mitzi. I'm sorry. I don't want to assign credit to somebody falsely. Somebody will check me on that. But it's just being who you are. Not trying to be something you're not. Making sure that you are there and you convey yourself in a way that's about the customer and not about you. And how do you display that the best? Listen, ask good questions and listen. Don't interrupt them. Listen, ask more clarifying and probing questions. The more questions you can ask, the more you can understand their needs, the more details you got, the more accurate you're going to be, and the more you're going to satisfy those needs, which is the dominant buying factor that goes into every customer's mind. And the better you get at that, that gives you the right. You have earned the right. Continue to upgrade and upsell that customer. Just being yourself and being real and being honest and trustworthy. The other thing too is you want to make sure you're doing some homework. Making sure that you're keeping tabs with the industry, with that client themselves, or making notes in your CRM as to what's happening with their business and happening in their lives and the projects that they're working on. And the better you keep tab of your notes based on the individual experiences you're having with each of your clients, your access and your ability to draw out some of those personal points each time you talk to them goes a long way to continue to gain more and more of their market share with that particular client. And then, being tactful. You want to make sure that you're not calling every day, you're not calling every week, and more importantly, that you, like I mentioned earlier, you always have a reason to be reaching out to your clients. And and you never come across as somebody's trying to squeeze more money out them. You want to sell up, don't sell out. And continue to always make sure that they understand that you're there to offer them support and satisfy their needs. And then, understanding from an industry standpoint what the problems are and kind of the solution map to those problems. And before you jump on a call, but even email somebody, you want to make sure that this existing customer, you want to see what they bought in the past. You maybe want to ask them about how that worked out for them, what the customer's responses were to that. If you're aware of common challenges that they're facing, like, I can't, maybe shortages of materials, because I'm hearing that from a lot of industries out there. Talk about that. Ask them how that's impacting them, what they're doing to overcome that. The more you make it about them and understanding their business and being able to ask and then share some experiences from others, maybe offer some help if there is an area or a level of need that they have, bring that out. So that concludes the presentation for today. I'd like to go back around and just check on a few things. I'm going to start with the new folks. Holly, I lied to you earlier. I'm a big liar. Trust me. But Holly, as you listen to this, mostly your fellow sales reps, what are some of the things you picked up on that you've got to remember as you're going into this job?
That it's just important to remember that we're here to solve problems for our customers, and that we have to know your product and be able to provide the solution through the product.
Okay, yeah. And how long have you been with RM Cocoa now, darling?
This week. Oh,
this week?
I was talking to me.
Yeah, they started on Monday.
This is your 5th day? Well, you know it all now. Okay.
We do.
You're
we
awesome.
are geniuses.
Yeah. And Darla, what did you pick up on today?
Well, I haven't done this type of sales before, but I have worked sales with other companies, and so it made me think of a lot of the other companies that I've been with. And I always started every sales presentation with, I'm a straight shooter. And so you're going to get honesty from me from the get-go, because that's the way that you gain trust with your customers. And that always worked for me. So that's my plan with my customers, is to start with that, because you can't develop a relationship without that. And so the products, as I saw in Cape Girardeau the other day, are going to speak for themselves before I start talking about them. But I'm going to have to speak for myself so that I can build that rapport. So this is so helpful to me, because it's just supporting the things that I was prepping myself for. And I'm so excited to get started, because I feel like this is just supporting the fact that I know I'm in the right place, and it's exciting.
Glad to hear that. And Darla and Holly, I from my perspective, from an outsider's perspective, looking in and having worked with this company for several months now, you've joined a great organization. I think you're really going to enjoy your experience there. So welcome aboard, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Mincy, I got a comment on your virtual background. It looks just like the interior of a car. That is amazing. But Mincy, anything you picked up on today that was something you want to make sure you're key to remember later? You're on mute if you didn't know that. There you go.
Okay. Well, I think definitely need to stay in touch with your customers. If you hear that noise in the background, little girl, I take her to the vet because she is. I don't know what's going on with her today. It's just scared me a little bit. But like I had a client the other day, and I hadn't heard from her in a little while, so I called her, and she had a heart attack. And so I sent her a card and just, call back to see how she was doing and check up on her. And then we talked about business too and just some of the things she's going through. But I think just staying really on a personal note. And then obviously you have the expertise behind, with design background or customer background or whatever, service you can provide. But I think a lot of times I've had customers recently that we had some not customer service issue, but just learning the product line and different things and how to order and that kind of stuff. And our customer service did a great job helping them. But she had emailed me and she goes, "Lizzie, thank you for, calling me and staying on top of it." And, that customer service just really handled that part, and then I've been the background of it too. So that I don't, overstep their what they're doing as well. So I think writing, that extra backup as well is a good thing.
Thanks for sharing all that, Mitzi. Appreciate that. And Michael, it's good to see you here today. And is there anything that you picked up on that you want to make sure you remind yourself to use later?
Did you send Michael, Vaughn?
I did. I sure did. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, something I took away from was that I want to basically create an urgency and shorten up on the time between, in-person sales calls with existing accounts, and that they're going to they provide me the low hanging fruit, and also to follow up with accounts that maybe at far parts of my territory with, phone calls with a purpose. I think I know that I get remarks from customers that I do call that, Michael, thank you for calling. You're the only one that calls and keeps up with me. I'm glad that you're, looking at my business. And then I also see we get every day where someone is placed a nice order and you want to make a follow-up call and thank them for doing business with me.
Yeah, really important. Thanks for saying all that. And it reminds me of another key sales statistic that I don't think we can be reminded of enough, which is 80% of sales happen after the 6th plus contact. So the more you contact your customers, the more stuff you're going to sell. And don't ever be afraid of being pesky or persistent in following up and touching base with your customers, because they actually do appreciate it, Mike. And as you just shared. And then how about you, Sarah? What's something you picked up on today that you want to make sure you keep in mind?
Don't just be a reach out.
Yeah, don't just touch base. Just touching base. Yeah.
I don't do that a lot, but I definitely have done it occasionally, maybe a couple times a day. Sorry. I'm being honest, because sometimes I reach out to people that I talked to back in February. So I'm just touching base with them, making sure they're okay. I mentioned that I saw that you have the memo orders out there. I want to make sure that those are okay. How's the client and that project doing? So I don't technically have a reason to call them, but I find a small one to call. But I do have those occasional calls where I call and they're like, "Oh, I'm fine. I don't need you to call me today. How about next week?" And then it's a quick call. I'm like, "Oh, that wasn't really necessary, I guess, in a way." But it's all a learning curve, right?
Absolutely. And I love your honesty. But and listen, we've all touched base in the past and found that it's not very productive. So
can I say one thing about what Sarah was saying? I think it's okay though if you've had notes and you're calling and saying, "Hey, 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we had a conversation, and one of the things you were doing is you're working on a project, and you asked me to send you some memo samples, kind of like what you're talking about. Just wanted to follow up. How's the project going? Do you need anything else that I can assist you with on that project?" So it's okay to touch base on those kinds of things, Sarah. I think it's
I think so too. Or do you have any new projects? Do you have anything new that's coming up?
Yeah. So it's and the point is, and well said, Pete, is she had a reason for that call.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And she stated that reason. The reason just can't be, "I'm just touching base."
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
All
Like,
right.
what's up?
Barb, how about you? What did you pick up on today you want to make sure you're using in the future?
Well, I have to admit that I have touched base quite a bit. But a lot of times I do have a reason, for calling them. I am being consistent with taking a lot of good notes in Goldmine after I've spoken to somebody. Anything from what their new project is, what color they're looking for, what texture they're looking for, to they took a vacation over the weekend or their daughter got married or whatever. And then the next time I talk to them, I'll mention that. And they're always surprised to hear that I remembered that. So, just trying to be more personable with these folks, kind of, as Erica says, get up in their business and, just kind of just be a part of what they're doing and who they are, what they're doing, and that kind of thing.
Well done, Barb. And yes, you're hitting it right on the head, because again, that's you building value in you and building that relationship. So that's really critical. Well said. And Erica, I'm gonna wrap it up with you today. Share with me a little bit about, or share with the group, what you picked up on. You want to make sure you keep at the forefront of your mind.
The one thing that I always do is try and follow through. If kind of do what I say what I do. If I promise I'm going to do something for the customer, I make sure that I do it. There's nothing worse than saying I'm going to check pricing or check stock or something and then not doing it. I mean, you ruin your credibility. And once you do that, you're never going to ever be able to get that back.
Amen. So good job with that. And I love what you've taught Barb to do, which is get up in their business. Right?
Yep, get all up in their business. That's right.
With that Southern accent that you don't have, Erica. She says she doesn't have an accent.
I don't have an accent, but anyway.
So where she is, believe me, I don't think I've got an accent either, but I live in LA. So everybody said, where are you from? If I was back home, I would sound just like everybody else.
Right.
Right. Thank you all very, very much for your time this morning. Let me just open this back up. What questions, or have I created any confusion for anybody today? Anything that anybody would like more information on before we jump off? Once again, I've done a very thorough job.
I don't have a question, but something I thought of earlier when we were talking about consistency, just throwing this one out there, is like also maybe keep in mind of trying to be anticipating what else you can do next without having them ask for it. So when people are like, I'm looking for this, or I'm doing this project, I was talking to somebody yesterday and I was like, well, I'll send some other memos. She's like, they think it might be out of stock. I was like, well, I'll send some other options your way just so you have those ready and just in case to show your client. Just stuff like that really gives you like a one up on some other business and other sales reps, something like that. But I always think that's a really good thing to keep in mind too. Try to be one step ahead.
Could not agree with you more. And once again, that separates you from an order taker, right? And so good job with that. You were anticipating needs, anticipating problems, and head nose off before they occur. So good job. Thanks for bringing that up. So Mike. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Michael. Yeah.
Oh, it's Michael. One thing that I just made a note of for myself too is, we talk about, quality and the things that we represent. And the flip side to that is having the customer know that in the small event that something doesn't go right, or there's some sort of flaw in the product that we're going to stand behind it. And that really, helps the customer feel secure in dealing with me.
And again, once again, that is a great point to bring up, because things are going to go wrong. Things are just going to go wrong. And it's how you respond when things go wrong, and which is a key differentiator. So thanks for bringing that up. Really important. Thanks.
My old boss used to say to me, if there weren't any problems, I wouldn't need you.
I may have had a boss say that to me a time or two as well. All right, Mike, any words before we get everybody off?
One question about referrals. That was kind of enlightening to me about referrals and how powerful that is. But I think often we don't think about, asking for referrals. Can you tell us, how does that conversation go? Who do you ask? How often do you ask? Because there's, what's the framework for that? Because I think we all leave and we go, oh yeah, referrals. And then we never ask for any. So what's overstepping the bounds? What is not? How often do we do it? Who do we do it with?
And so, great question. And I'm going to start with the last thing you say. Who do we do it with? Anytime you get a compliment from a client or customer, anytime they say, "Oh my God, I just love doing business with you," well, the response is, and you form it into your words, but this is the basic talking track. Well, listen, I love doing business with you too. Are there other customers like you I should be talking to? That's one approach. The other thing is you can actually go about it from a little bit of a research based on social media. Who are they connected to that you would like to do business with? Who do they know that you would like to do business with? Now, you can find that on LinkedIn or Facebook, or even through conversations that they bring up in an association, and somebody, there's a bunch of people in that association you'd like to do more business with, is you bring up that name directly and say, would you mind introducing me to Sharon? And it would be, I'd really appreciate it. I've wanted to get through and talk to Sharon. I've had a hard time getting in touch with her, but I know you two are friends. Would you mind introducing me? And so that becomes a referral. The other thing too, and back to what I just said, if you're not on LinkedIn, well, you tell me, Kathy and Heath, how many of our prospects, our clients, are LinkedIn members?
I think there are quite a few. I see them.
Yeah,
at least people that I know that I'm connected with. There's quite a few.
Yeah, and so if you make it an effort, if you make this an hour project every week, as you go into LinkedIn, you look at your current clients and you look at who they're connected to, and pick somebody in there that maybe has shown up on your prospect list, or somebody that you know that you need to get in touch with. Ask them, I see you're connected to Heath. How well do you know Heath? Would you mind introducing me to Heath? And so, but you got to ask for it. And listen, if they're happy doing business with you, they're proud to go to that extra effort for you.
Vaughn, I've used both those tactics in the past. This was before LinkedIn existed, but either telling my existing customers if they're happy with, the company, the products and the services and the value that I've been providing, is there anyone else in the design industry that you wouldn't mind referring me to, or have, someone that I can call, and someone they don't feel that maybe is a direct competitor. A lot of them are in ASID, they're in WCAA, or they just have other friends with locally in the area that, they just don't feel a threat, that they're not a competition, and then that they will, make that referral. The other one, there was times that I was trying to get into a design firm. I just couldn't get in no matter what I tried. And if I knew that they had a friendship with them, just say, hey, could you put in a good word for me? Would you introduce me? So both of those things will work, and I've used both.
And I just had a recent experience along those lines, Heath. I've got a client I've had for a little over a year that's in the aerospace business, and I coach his executive team. I coach his sales manager, and I started coaching his executive team and on alignment, corporate alignment. And he and I, the CEO, were sitting down. I was coaching him, and he said, "Man, I just love what you're doing for the team. It's amazing the differences I'm seeing with their attitudes towards each other." And he is a major supplier to SpaceX. And as you guys may or may not know, here in Southern California, it's a huge aerospace industry, or has been. It's been a little decimated, but there's still Boeing and Northrop and all those people here. But SpaceX is a huge business here. And I know that that SpaceX is their number one customer. And, you know, they're a huge supplier to SpaceX. And I said, "Man, I really appreciate you saying that. I've been trying to get into somebody at SpaceX for a number of months and can't get anybody to call me back. Who do you know I can talk to?" And he said, "Come on into my office. We'll call them together." And yeah, boom, I'm in. So that, you know, it's to your point, it just works, but you got to ask.
Right. The last thing I want to say, you were talking earlier just about, you know, the uniqueness is you as a salesperson. And for me personally, I enjoy watching a professional, no matter who they are and what they do, whether it's a basketball player, whether it's, I mean, anybody that's an artisan, someone that's knowledgeable, competent, and good, and has passion at what they do and want to be the best in what they do in their field. I just love to watch that. I mean, I don't know if anybody remember Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter. Anybody remember that guy?
Yeah.
I mean, he was passionate. You could just feel it. And so hopefully we have team members that we are in the sales profession and we want to be the best salespeople that we can be and create that experience with our customers where they walk away and say, "Wow, I mean, that's a salesperson." You know, they are completely different than the other yahoos that are walking in our door and don't do the things that you're doing. So I don't know. I love it's my profession, just like a lawyer profession, doctor profession. This is a sales profession, and I just hope that we all want to be the best that we can be in our profession. But it's fun to witness that.
Yes, it is, and it's because there's some science and then there's some art associated with all this. And as you build this craft as a professional, it's a sight to behold when you see somebody that is really good at it. And may I also remind everybody, it's the highest paid profession in the world. Highest paid profession in the world. So there's a lot of money to be made in the sales profession.
I'd like to throw one other thing out because I'm a new homeowner. And so now going through and getting quotes for home projects and dealing with those salespeople. And it is now my biggest pet peeve is when I'm talking to a salesperson and they're talking super fast because they have to get all the information in. They have to get it in before you get bored. And I was like, slow down. Yes. And it just drives me up the wall. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Just remind people that if you have a good product and you trust your product, you don't have to work that hard.
Yeah.
So that's like my newest pet peeve.
Well, and Kat, you and I approach that exactly the same way. Because, you know, somebody's trying to sell me something, I'm judging them, right? And I'll tell you a recent experience. You guys ever heard of Cutco knives?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Sheila. Okay. And one of my previous clients.
They're horrible. They're horrible. They're horrible. Just don't.
Somebody reached out to me and said, "Hey, Vaughn, I know you do sales training. My son has just gone to work for Cutco Knives. And would you just mind going through his presentation and helping him a little bit?" And I said, "Sure." And poor Brian, he goes through this presentation, and it was like, you know, Kat was just describing. It was just deplorable. And he approached it 100% wrong. It was always about Cutco, never about me. Never asked me if I had knives, needed knives, loved knives, cooked, didn't cook. You know, he was just going through. He was just throwing a bunch of product at me. And in the end, finally, he for the first time, he smiled. And and said, well, how did I do? And I said, that was horrible.
Oh.
And then I let him off.
Honesty matters, man.
I said, Brian, I know that's exactly how Cutco trained you to do this, because he was just following the script and literally following the script. And you knew he was following the script. I said, man, I guarantee I can help you sell more, and started giving him some tips. But I can't believe, to Kat's point, how many people out there selling products to consumers with the approaches they're taking. It's unbelievable. So thanks for bringing that up, Heath. And it gives me comfort that I can find other folks to do sales training with, because there's lots of need out there. But secondly, it's just unbelievable how many people approach it so poorly. And that's a testament to you guys, in that what I've heard today, you're going about it in a very positive way. Anything else? You guys have had some great comments today.
No.
All right. Heath and Kathy and Mike, why don't you just stay on the call? I'll let everybody else go out and sell some stuff. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Bye.